Hello, my dear entrepreneur friends. Welcome back to another episode on the Omnichannel podcast. This is audio only, and currently it's 11:22. That's a quite matchy number. And I'm in bed in the UK in a cat sitting duties, and it's currently very, very warm in the rooms. Now, today I wanted to talking about things. And my favorite energy is the energy of wonder, the energy of delight, the energy of curiosity, the energy of surprise, the energy of amazement. These are my favorite energies, and groundedness. I love grounded energy as well. But these are the energies in which I prefer to express from. And the more I've been expressing throughout my now 5-year journey of doing this podcast and talking online, expressing online, and the more I realized what are the energies that I like to speak from, and what are the energies that I'm just like, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. And I would say here's what's really happening for me, and that's how my expressions evolve and they come to be into a podcast episode. When they reach my favorite energies, they go through a process. And I used to be really confused by the process, and now I understand more and more. And I know that being angry and just frustrated by things is part of the process, and it's not the time to speak from, because whenever I'm coming from a frustration, it could be that I see something in my industry that I don't like, or there is a situation that has been challenging to me and I'm still mid-process and not quite out of the woods about it. I know that it hasn't matured into its own wisdom. Like, you know how good cheese is maturing, and I'm not saying wine because I don't drink, but a good cheese, a good moldy cheese, like somehow that's how it feels when you come from experience and you reach insight and wisdom. And by the time you go through the ups and downs, you experience the experience, you let the emotion, whatever comes up, affect you, and then you come to metabolize, process. At the end, it just becomes this marvel of insight. And I love when that happens, and many times I've noticed that when we are still in the process of things, it's usually angry, right? It can be frustrated. I'm not saying these energies are not effective. Like, be angry at something or be frustrated with something is not an effective energy to speak from. I'm just saying that for me, I usually regret speaking from the energy, because everything that I say from there is just like, it's not my highest expression. It's not my deepest wisdom. And so I'd like to, as a conscious practice, wait until I get into the insight and then speak from there. And this, by the way, this practice of not necessarily speaking from the inside of the emotion of anger, or like inside of that early processing of certain things, has helped me in so many ways, not just be more proud of what I'm putting out there and making sure I refine what I put out there, but also it helped me to, professionally speaking, it helped me to maintain client relationships. I remember when I was negotiating pricing and there were pushback, it's the process of, first you go into self-righteous energy, like why they push back on prices, and then you go into, they don't appreciate me, like you go inferior, superior, until you get balanced. But that whole process actually it takes time. And I know and learn to realize from which state I'm the most healthiest to express from. And and again, I'm not saying that that's easy, and I'm not saying that I nail it all the time. What I'm saying is became more mindful of what energy I'm speaking from, and if I'm feeling like, okay, I would just tell them to go, somewhere else, right? and just it wouldn't be my highest expression, then I'm just gonna hold back on responding until I process this. I'm just gonna hold back on sharing this insight until I let that mature even more. And then I'm going to speak from it. And again, like I said, this has been saving me client relationships. This has been making sure that they don't erode. This has been an absolute blessing in terms of content creation. And here's something I also want to say, because it doesn't mean I don't express from that at all. Like, I have recorded just before today, I have recorded an entire podcast episode on how I intentionally reveal how I think and how I come to conclusions, because to me that process has value, and that process helps people understand and kind of place themselves in that narrative, rather than me presenting the final outcome and be like, now believe this, right? To me, that entire process of how something has been created, what was the wrestling process, the refinement, to me that has inherent value to the listener, so that they can go, oh, actually I'm still at this process, or this has been happening for me. And so the first inclination of that, I recorded a 23-minute podcast on the texture and how to create it and what's my process and why do I think it matters. But the energy behind it was a little bit self-righteous. I'm like, this is the way. And instead of saying this is a way and this is my way and this is how I like it and this is what I believe to be working for me, I've done it for clients as well. I let that exist. And I never publish it. I let that initial idea fall out of me, and I look at the footage, I listen to it, I'm like, okay, I can do better than this. Like, surely the energy was like, it's already illuminated, it's great, but I would rather say it like this way. I'd rather not just, I would refine it from the energy of, actually, you guys, you won't believe what I just learned, or you won't believe what I have discovered. I'd rather speak from that energy than mid-process of it. And again, this is something that I have been consciously practicing now. I let that expression exist. It just, I don't necessarily go ahead and publish it. Or if I catch myself after, I'd like to refine it. I've done this as well, where I looked back into some of the things I said, and I actually okay, I'm going to edit this out and I'm going to remove it. Or, okay, maybe if I'm mentioning this person, that would not land well with them. Like, this could be taken or misunderstood. Like, let me think about how can I do this better. And I go back to edit those footages and I remove those anecdotes or the things that, okay, maybe it's a bit, I shouldn't have not share that. And I think this is part of the creative process of editing, of expressing, discerning, okay, what do I say? Okay, maybe that was a bit, okay, let me see if I can do this better. So when it comes to you and the way you express, what I like to invite you to is try to think about, what is the energy I'm speaking from? Am I angry? Am I mad? Am I upset? Or can I be grounded? Can I be like, you know what? This is such a cool thing. You guys, I have to tell you, there is this desire to express that genuine, you guys need to know this. I have to talk about this. And that's actually one of my favorite energies. Like I talked about wonder, delight. I love all those, but I have to tell you, is underneath it all. And then I grab my phone, and then the most authentic and grounded and not angry version of me comes out, and I enjoy that much more. And so in two situations this applies really well, like whether in client relationships you're still feeling triggered, you're feeling angry, or you're feeling sad or upset by some of the things that has been happening. Can you give yourself some space to process before you start expressing? That's my first kind of takeaway for you. And then when it comes to if you're publishing videos, if you're publishing podcasts, if you're publishing any type of written content, if you're still in the energy of self-righteousness, anger, deep frustration, do you think is that your highest expression? Maybe be more mindful of speaking from that place, because that's what happens to me all the time. And I keep editing those videos. I keep removing. I keep like, okay, maybe this is not it. I could do better. And every time I'm like, I'm so glad I haven't done that. I'm so glad I was holding on to this a little longer. I recognize that was the wisest choice that I could make. So I invite you to reflect on this as well with me. If this brought up anything for you, there were situations you would wish you could handle it, any situations that you could have handled better, or if you've given yourself a bit more space to process, perhaps it would have been not coming off harshly, and this has been also, and I'm going to bring the emotional energy to me, because I'd like to describe as 3 types of energy. There's mental energy, which is bandwidth, which is how many things you can focus, like where your attention is going. There is physical energy, which to me is movement, is exercise, is having the stamina. That's energy. It's physical energy. And there is emotional energy, which to me is the capacity to hold your own emotions and other people as well. And emotional capacity, and I think all energy levels, but emotional energy to me is finite. I use it extensively every single day, because I'm processing a lot of things. I'm metabolizing, reflecting constantly. And to me, when I'm running low on emotional energies, when I get snappy, when I get passive aggressive, and those are not my most loving and glorious expressions. And so many times, sometimes just go to sleep and not respond right away, or come back to it later, is actually a practice of love for the other people and for yourself as well. So when you're running low and you're feeling like I'm losing patience, I may not be able to respond very well to this right now, and just giving yourself even a couple of days to recharge, that it would actually be so beneficial. And like I said, it could be an email. I also been practicing this in terms of responding back to emails, responding back to private messages, responding back to client inquiries. It's just to give myself time to process, so I can really be present with what is needed from me in the moment. And this is also something, now we are bringing in another idea. We are at 15 minutes, perfect. This is also something I want to add here, now that we are at this presence idea. One of the things I was teaching inside of presence, amongst many things for my entrepreneurs inside of the program, was how many times we don't want to be present with certain part of the business. And we went on to the participants, we kind of tried to diagnose what were the things that they were not wanting to be present, even though it was actually bringing them results and the outcomes they were looking for. And that helped them understand, okay, why did I even stop? Like, why am I avoiding this? That was the whole premise of presence, by the way. But just really helping them, illuminating them. I was giving them examples in which they can see themselves through, and helping them analyze and see what's coming up and where do they need to realign with their actions. But what has been true for me as well is, in terms of presence, if things require my presence, in like this video, this podcast requires my presence, because I would have to put this to my laptop, go through the entire episode, make sure I remove any tangents that don't make any sense, and I would have to really think about, how would I title this? Like, what would I be saying? And how would I create the description? I'm just really giving it my attention, and like even the cover design, like what picture would I put in here? and like publishing, and all of that requires presence. Be actually present with the task. And if I can be present, I like to put them off. Not because I wouldn't be able to snap together the title or think of something and just upload, like, doesn't matter. If I can give it proper presence, I'd rather just not do it. And many times that's why, if I can give my presence because I'm low on emotional resource, or because my bandwidth is actually very full, I'd rather just hold things off for a while until I can give it my presence. And I think that matters as well so much, because you could tell if someone was giving it care or just publishing, and like, that's that type of work, and it goes to everything that we do in business. Like, you could tell if someone was giving it actual attention, or someone was just like brushing it over and just whatever, it's done. Okay? So I think that's it for today. I'm gonna go and get some sleep. I hope this was helpful. I know we touched on many things. I hope that you guys can just reflect a little bit on how you're reacting, and can you give it a little bit more processing? Can you even accept that actually anger phase is perfectly fine within the process of coming to wisdom, of coming to your ultimate highest expression, and not judge it so much, but work with it in a way that's actually representing what it is that you want to communicate. Thank you so much for listening to this one, and I'll see you guys very soon.